you're so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. And I relate to so many of these women because I used to be exactly the same way. It wasn't until I sat down and realized that if I am going to be able to fulfill these amazing, ineffable, indescribable visions that I have for the world and healing it and aligning with the resonance of truth through art, A-R-T, aligned resonant truth, if I have those visions and those dreams, there comes a turning point. A man is not your financial plan. However, there is truth that the vibration and the energy of masculine provision and the energy of financial material items are related to masculinity in general. A man is not your financial plan, although it makes sense to be able to look toward the men in our lives for that kind of provision materialistically. What ends up happening a lot of the time, whenever people, not just women, meet with the financial advisor for the first time, sometimes these unexpected traumas and root energy, this lower chakra work that hasn't been done, starts to be revealed. And that's why I really enjoy being a fiduciary, because sometimes we are holding space to even be people's like money psychologists, which is interesting. There's a lot of inner work and personal development that ends up happening by being able to hold that kind of space for people, particularly women. And, you know, reality is not everyone has had a healthy relationship with the finances in their past, or a healthy relationship with the masculine figures in their lives. And what ends up happening a lot of the time is people reflect on how maybe they were financially taken advantage of, how they allow themselves to be, and then also, of course, how they want to change that moving forward. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful transformations that ends up happening with the work that we do. There's a turning point that comes to happen with that realization. So many of the amazing, beautiful women that have entered into my life and that I've had the pleasure and honor of working with in managing their assets are women who previously, before knowing me, struggled a lot with their physical world. And a lot of times that's why they feel compelled to actually sit down with me as their financial advisor. Because being in financial professional services, I have material answers to these bigger metaphysical problems. And the objective is to be able to really look at things in the practical world, moving from the 5D into the 3D. It requires us to transition from being solely visionary focused to having multidisciplinary and multi-dimensional perspective, not just existing up on the astral plane. And don't be acting like we don't see each other up on the astral plane, because I see you, right? But bringing it back down here into the 3D, that's whenever we make actionable steps in the practical world. They say, keep your head in the clouds and your feet rooted in the sand, or rooted in the dirt, right? They say, you're so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. And I relate to so many of these women because I used to be exactly the same way. It wasn't until I sat down and realized that if I am going to be able to fulfill these amazing, ineffable, indescribable visions that I have for the world and healing it and aligning with the resonance of truth through art, A-R-T, aligned resonant truth, if I have those visions and those dreams, there comes a turning point. It's required of us to take control of our financial destiny. And if you're following this channel, you probably really resonate with what I'm saying right now. And if your ambition and your hope is independence financially and fulfilling those visions, I have news for you. You're in the right freaking place. because we understand that wealth is a spiritual practice. And building a legacy is the most feminine thing that we could do. That's the power of our connection and community. When we reach that turning point, it is no coincidence that we are brought to be surrounded by seraphim, angelic women. I mean, some of the beautiful souls I encounter on a daily basis leave me feeling so full, so seen, so felt. And it's no coincidence that like 95% of the women that fill my calendar are women of color who have incredible visions and incredible abilities in both the astral realm and the earthen realm. And it's my servitude and my honor to uphold Afrofuturist ways, African indigenous ways. And when we talk about community, we're talking about the power of Ubuntu. I've been reflecting on this all week long. When I turns into we, illness turns into wellness. The only difference between illness and wellness is one is I focused and one is we focused. And Ubuntu is the philosophy and the truth that I am because you are. We are the most important thing together. And my vision for the world, it includes everyone living that way. My vision for the planet, it includes everybody feeling like they belong. And sure, we might still feel scared sometimes because we are human and we are susceptible to devilish evils on this planet, and fear is the #1 war tactic of the devil, who we can outwit, by the way. But to support that, to support a future and a world that looks like that, saturated with color and beautiful, that is something I'm dedicated to, I'm committed to, and I am committed to have the audacity to do so, to love the broken world that much. You know, in the inspiration of Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, there are so many insights from that book, particularly in alignment with the idea of the temporary setback. Because another tactic of evil, of the devil, of shaitan, of however you want to look at it, your lower self, shadow self, whatever it is that resonates with you. One of the strongest weapons in the arsenal of evil is convincing us humans to live in fear and to feel ashamed. Fear is a low-level energy. And whenever you're racking your brain around with fear, it's going to bring you further and further down. I refer to David Hawkins' Power versus Force chart. It's one of the most powerful things that has ever changed my life. The chart alone. The book is amazing. I haven't even read the whole thing, but the chart itself, just looking at it, just referring back to it with any kind of life view, with any kind of emotional state, with any kind of level, it gives us clarity on our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with God, and it gives us permission to just see exactly where we are and meet ourselves there. And fear is not the lowest energy in the world. Shame and guilt are the lowest log of, like, whatever it is, 25 energy. I'll see it on the chart. And what's fascinating is that if the devil could just get us to fear, we'll lower ourselves even further down. Oof. That's a real one. And so what ends up happening is that people get convinced that they are shameful. And with that shame comes deep, deep, deep sadness, guilt, resentment, all the forceful levels of energy. And the devil says that one of the biggest things that humans get confused is that they believe that their temporary setbacks are failures. And because, like we said before, so much generational pain is trapped around money, when people are not fully in the embodiment of wealth, they feel ashamed of themselves. And so many times, our financial issues are not being solved because we are ashamed to talk about them and ashamed to look at them even. Because we felt as if we've failed. What if I told you that it's not a failure, that it's a lesson and a temporary setback? The idea that temporary setbacks are not failures, but they are seeds. They are seeds just like the basil plant I planted. And with that seed is an opportunity, always an opportunity of an equal and an opposite advantage. So our temporary setbacks give us the chance to nurture, till, water, sun, love, and care for that which we plant, the seed. And if we so shall, then grows an advantage. I'm not ashamed of my money setbacks that I experienced in the past because I nurtured them to a degree that I became advantageous. And so can you. If that's what you seek, you're doing the right thing by listening right now. I guarantee you that. Because something here will resonate with you. And one of the most beautiful things, I was having this conversation with the marvelous Dana Chanel. If you don't know who she is, look her up. And she gave this example when we were reading Outwitting the Devil on the book club call. And if you want to be a part of that and you're seeing this posted recently, guess what? You can be a part of it too. I'll drop the link in the comments and the descriptions below because you should join. This book, Outwitting the Devil, it's a club that she's created for her community and embraced me as a part of it and invited my mother and I to have a conversation with her about specifically this part of the book. And she talks about the definitive of purpose, the definitiveness of purpose, and how that relates to motherhood and how that relates to femininity. If you want to see that, that's on my Instagram, and you can see the recording of us having that conversation. I won't get too into it right now because it's not exactly on topic of this conversation, but part of it that is the definitiveness of purpose. And the definitiveness of purpose, it's what allows us to recalibrate when we have temporary setbacks. There's always an opportunity for the equal and opposite advantage. It brings you closer to the thing that you felt distant from during the temporary setback. In the video, she gives the example of a relationship between mother and daughter. You could look at the same exact thing when it comes to financial success, wealth, and being in alignment overall. It's the definitiveness of purpose. It's the will to return to the thing that is a non-negotiable for you. That is one of the things that actually is an unspoken and underutilized advantage over the devil, and humans don't realize it. And so in those cases, the devil wins. When a mother is divided and separated from her child and there's no reconciliation, the devil wins. Whenever you live in poverty, when anyone on the planet lives in poverty, the devil is winning. There are misconceptions within faith that people believe that to be in poverty is meekness, and meekness is egolessness, and egolessness is godly. That's a misinterpretation of the text. Poverty is evil. It's not necessary. Humility, living a meek life, is not necessarily related to having material possessions. In fact, I am vehemently against the idea that it's not godly somehow to be wealthy. God's greatest riches come straight from God. And it specifically says in Outwitting the Devil that the most allied individuals of evil live in the worst conditions. Now, don't misinterpret my words. I'm not suggesting that only that evil energy inhabits the slums. I've seen firsthand, not in person yet, but inshallah, God willing, I'll have the privilege to visit some of the places that my philanthropy work is present in. Some of the largest slums and most populated slums of the planet, and some of those individuals have the biggest hearts. And I would agree and argue that they're the most wealthy people on the planet, in spirit. But it's also necessary that we don't leave that to be enough. They also are so deserving of the physical resources, and that's the reason why I do any of this. That's the only reason I show up on this video today. And I'm becoming greater and better because I've had temporary setbacks, and I used to consider them failures, but I know audaciously that we will be successful in bringing love to those individuals on the planet. Because those are the people that hold the most brilliant solutions for the problems that our Earth faces. I have no doubt in my being, no doubt in my mind. Definitiveness of purpose, that's what that means. It means, you know what, I may have had that temporary setback financially or with my mother, or in whatever way resonates with you. But my definitiveness of purpose leads me to know that non-negotiably, I'll solve this. And that leaves you coming out on the other end so much stronger. No questions asked. No questions asked. We recorded and put out a few short videos of having, the empowerment of choice around having your no questions asked account. In the littlest ways that we set these things up for ourselves, it translates into the bigger realities that we're looking for, enjoying life and reinforcing that financial freedom really does mean having a choice to spend your life joyfully. If you're always scrapping and trying to figure out how to scrimp and get by, it's very difficult to live in an empowered state. And some of us, if you're watching this, most likely have a lot of privilege. And so creating some no questions asked actions is going to be a crucial part of you living in your empowerment. Setting up that rich girl emergency fund, you deserve it, babe. It's a safety net for you. It can empower you to take some bolder risks in life and pursue opportunities without fear. An emergency fund is so important. We talked about this in one of the previous videos. I just had a conversation with one of my dearest friends whose family lived in LA recently. There were a lot of fires. You probably heard about them. And it just enlightened her to the importance of having an actual emergency fund, and also the importance of having insurance, not just home insurance, because God forbid that doesn't pay out, but having life insurance, having capital where she can be her own bank and borrow against it. We're working on setting that up this week. Those are the kinds of things that we can do when we step into our empowerment and we treat our assets, we treat investing in ourselves or putting money aside into tax shelter, tax deferred, cash value accruing assets, the same way that we're conditioned to treat our bills and our expenses. put the money aside for you first, babe. Pay yourself first. To hand away every single thing that you earn, every single paycheck, every single sale, and like continue that cycle for the rest of your life. You gotta pay yourself first. It's an act of self-care. Envision for a second a future. I'll do it with you. Envision a future where you are in control of your financial destiny. And plan your financial future like the boss you are. Like, create that vision. I encourage you to really take some time today. If you haven't done this, if you don't have a clear answer to the question I just asked, can you envision your financial future being completely in your control? I implore you to take time away from everyone today, put in headphones, sit, listen to 888 frequency sounds, look up 888 HZ, 888 Hertz, or look on my channel and you'll see playlists of these kinds of subliminals and frequencies. Put some headphones in, go on a walk, touch some grass if you can, drink some water, sit your down and actually write out that vision for yourself. If you've already done it before, review where you've written that. Sit with that. Reflect on that. And align with the values that you have, because if you're not living in that way, it means that there's some kind of misalignment of values that's not enabling you to live in your most fulfilled passion in life, right? So it's important to do that, because budgeting is for freedom. Like, let's redefine the word budgeting. So many times people think of budgeting and they think of cutting expenses, canceling subscriptions. And like, yeah, definitely cut where there are things that don't resonate or that you're not getting use. But the answer is not to scrimp yourself down this finite direction, because you cut away at yourself and cut away at yourself and cut away at yourself. And guess what you're left with? Nothing. You can't build on nothing. So instead, look in the opposite direction. Where can I invest in myself? How can I cash flow more? What kind of skills do I have? Who do I need to call? Who do I need to ask help from? And start to look at things as building upward and building blocks. And that's whenever you can make a big difference. So I call upon you, okay, to create your commitment to yourself with this. And if you already have, and you haven't booked a call on my calendar, why? Especially if you are someone I know. Get on the calendar so we can have a conversation about what your actual finances look like and what we can build from there. One-on-one. It's completely free. Completely. Why? Because I am committed. I am committed to have the audacity to love a broken world so much, to refuse to leave it that way. I'm committed. I'm committed to rack up bands, as many as it takes, to build the drawbridge to the soul, to wrap the mycelium and to honor Afrofuturism on high. So, it's time to embrace your financial adventures, your financial journeys. And I encourage you, embrace what makes you unique within that and celebrate every single step of the way. So what? You're not exactly where you want to be yet. Celebrate yourself anyway, because you took a step toward empowerment by watching this video today. And I invite you, lovingly, to comment below what of all of these things were your favorite money moves, and please share how this aligns with you. I want to hear your stories of alignment. I want to hear what resonates with you. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, get on the calendar, share on your social media, reach out to me directly, do what you gotta do. But please let me know that you're present, because I'm present with you. I'm present for you, and I'm so grateful.
Is moving in alignment or in person? I love you. Nobody's told you today. I love you. Have a beautiful and blessed rest of your day. Go plant the seeds. My bank account full of money. Yeah, money falling on me. So many commas in my bank account. Money really loves me. My bank account full of money. Yeah, money falling on me. So many commas in my bank account. Money really loves me.